Hey everyone, welcome back to another 31-minute podcast. Morning, Jordan.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Top of the morning to you.
So we've got an appointment soon, so let's get straight into this one today.
What are you thinking?
You know what a topic I sort of like? What's the upside of things not working out? Because I think sometimes, like, we look at success and we look at people who are doing well and we're like, oh, gee, they're killing it. And it can make you feel a bit like, why are things not happening for me like that? But sometimes you don't always, you haven't seen the journey there, but also sometimes things aren't always what they look like.
Most of the time.
On the outside. You know, you don't know, you don't really know if it might look like they're going really well, but they might be like just overwhelmed, not loving it, whatever. But do you want to put those dogs away, Jackson? We got a new pup, so
He is a cutie.
yeah.
Bear.
Yeah, Bear. Bear looks like more like a mouse, not a bear. That's right. There he is. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I forgot we're filming.
And
There you go.
Poppy's sort of struggling with the new edition. But I think there's a big upside with things not going right. Things not going the way you want, because sometimes you think, you know, I need things to go this way for me to be happy, or I need things to go this way for me to feel like the result's going to be there. But sometimes you don't know the path on the way there at all. So
I know, looking back,
you're going to say something.
No, I think in the moment, like, it can feel terrible and the worst, and
Yeah.
how could this happen to me? But then when you look back, could be a sliding door moment.
Yeah, it could be.
It's like, I'm glad that happened
Yeah.
because it sort of sent me here.
I heard a CD once, and the guy was really successful. It's actually Tony Robbins talking about I think it was Tony Robbins or somebody many years ago talking about a friend of his. His friend had this saying, no matter what happens, he's on the path to success. And I think that's really true. Like, if you're sort of, you just know that you're going to end up successful, and you know that you're doing all the right things. You can't do any more than that. So you can't manufacture the path there. And if anything, sometimes it's the diversion that is making you head to success. In real estate terms, because I know there's many people that aren't in real estate that listen to this, but just in real estate terms, if you lose an opportunity, so whether it be a listing or a sale or something, it automatically, for me, I try not to stay in the bounce. So I try not to stay in the trying to work it out too much in my head. Like, why did that happen? Or I think about it. Like, I sort of think, okay, what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? And then I try and create the energy forward again. Because it can quite easily stop and you get stuck. You get stuck in depressed.
I know a perfect example of that. I haven't seen you lose a listing in a long time, maybe a year, but I remember when you lost one about a year ago. I think you called John McGrath or somebody and said, what can I add to my listing presentation?
Yeah.
Like, it was all positive. You were saying to me, yeah, maybe I'm not sharp as I used to be, and I just go in and expect people to know me and just think that they're going to sign up the business with me.
Yeah.
And then we did design all new listing kits back into dialogue training. Like,
Yeah.
someone that's been in the industry for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
So if someone that's been in it 5,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to know that somebody that's been in it 30 and is seen as one of the best real estate agents in the country goes, I need to sharpen my listing presentation.
Yeah, because I think I look in, I don't look out.
Yeah.
I sort of like, I don't look at the person and go, because sometimes we can say, oh, the person offered a lower fee or no marketing. And I think that might all be appealing, but if they really want to use you, you've been thorough or great, they'll probably be open with that. Like, look, I'd love to use you, but you're like 0.5% more than the other person. What can we do about that? Sometimes when we blame, oh, gee, the other agent was just cheaper, or maybe it was just great energy. Like, maybe they could have secured it at a higher fee.
Yeah.
Because the person liked them that much.
Yeah. They put the best case forward.
Yeah. But every time there's something out, you get something out of it. So John McGrath always says, look for the silver lining in every situation. And there is. And I think when you miss an opportunity, not just with business, but with life, there's definitely a bounce. So like you go down it hurts.
Yeah.
And it's up to you how long you stay in the hurt.
Yeah.
So it's up to you how long you, like, I quickly process it. So I feel it. I'm like, wow, and I automatically think to myself, okay, now I've got to get out of that. Like, I've got to start going, all right, well, how do I, because you're going to get all this stuff that happens with it. So with the bounce comes increased hunger, comes increased focus, a bit of self-assessment. And then I get like a hunter, like I get even twice as focused, start hunting for the next one. Because it's like you've gone to spear a lion to eat for the night. Yeah. The whole village is waiting for you to bring it back, and you've missed it and it's run away. So I get twice as focused then. I'm like, okay, we need it. And you know what a great remedy is for missing an opportunity? Proactivity. And what I mean by that is prospecting. So if you miss something, say in business, go prospect twice as hard, and you watch what happens. You start to find another little win, another little win, another little win, and soon enough, even though you're like a bit bummed by it, I reckon that twice, momentum, that twice as sharp focus actually starts if you move your energy. So if you stay there, you can stay there, and you can just keep missing stuff because you just get stuck in that energy vibration. So I reckon there's a massive. And I'm not putting it out there. I don't want to keep missing things, but it's like there's a huge benefit in the energy shift of it.
Well, you know how you were just saying that? I was actually speaking to a friend of mine last night, and his son was into martial arts forever. I said, "How's your son going?" And he said, he's just won all the tournaments in New South Wales and Australia. And I said, "Wow, that's so good." He said 2 years ago he trained for years and years and years. We went to they went overseas or on the plane somewhere to go to this competition, and the 10 people that he went all won medals. And in a 2-day event, he won not one thing. Yeah. And it changed his whole. Adam said to me last night, he said from that one moment, he was so scarred, like hurt inside, that he was the only person that didn't win one thing. They all went over there in front of all of these people he'd been training with for years. It just went in his head, and now he's 10 times better than all of them. Yeah. And he just went harder in the gym, just went, I'm never letting that happen again. No, that's the same thing. Really cool.
Because you can't buy that hunger.
No.
You can't even train that hunger. Like, I'll run...
one last thing. It's the same with relationships. How often do people get out of relationships and then be the fittest that they've ever been, the happiest they've ever been? Because they're like, oh, no, I need to get like back in shape.
They get keen on life again. Yeah. It clicks in.
They look great. They feel great. Yeah. They're like got that zing back in them. Not every time, but most times.
They do. I'll run off that story you were just saying before, a real life example. So Logan. Logan he's a great surfer.
Yeah, and very, very good.
Yeah, really good surfer. And he's got the potential to become whatever in that surfing world that he wants. But many people wouldn't know this. He's been competing since he was 7, roughly, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. So he got sponsored by Rip Curl when he was about 10, I think, something like that, and a number of other things. You know, in that surfing world, it's hard to get sponsored and
very hard.
Just to like be a part of all those companies. But he's never won a comp. Like he's never won so I've watched him since but his surfing is fantastic. He'll lose a heat, and people will say to him all the time, including Amy, his coach, or us, like, you're the best surfer in the field, or the best surfer in the heat, but he'll lose because of strategy a lot of the time. Like he gets a bit too excited or a bit too like, I don't know what you call it. It's like he gets his brain.
Comp surfing and normal surfing is totally different.
Yeah. So as he's maturing, he's getting much, much better. But it's other kids would be winning. Like there's a kid he competed with Lennox against his whole life. So I've got a picture of them standing on the beach at like 7 or 8 years old together in jerseys, competing against each other. Yeah, it's like the nemesis. And Lennox would beat him all the time. But now Logan's 18. Logan's just starting to win, not win comps yet because he's gone in the QS now. But I've watched him, but now he's starting to beat Lennox and all this sort of stuff. But I've watched him, like we'd fly to Western Australia, to go surf in a comp. He'd get knocked out first round. Like we would fly everywhere, like
and you just be like, back in the plane.
Yeah, because you got to to compete. It's like when they're kids and they want to be a pro, there's like levels, like as you know, you were one of them. But so 7 to 15-year-olds, they it's like a mini circuit. So like half the year they're traveling around trying to fit school in and all this sort of stuff, and then they get older and then goes to another thing, and now he's in the pro juniors and then the QSs. They sort of mix them together, as you know, and it's like you got to go everywhere, do all this stuff. I can't tell you the amount of times we had gone somewhere, and Jackson's sitting here with me. Me and Jackson bring all his camera equipment, and we go, and we'd spend, I don't know, sometimes $10,000. The guys go for one comp, first round,
20 minutes gone.
Out, gone. And then, that's it. You got all the accommodation booked, but you had to go there because you. But I've watched him literally come out in tears, and the pain that kid has been through, I can't even begin to tell you. Like to go for more than 10 years to get to not win one comp, get to the finals or get to the quarters or get to the semis or knock down in the first round or second round. Like there's so many, or even to be winning. And on the last wave, the kid that doesn't surf anywhere near the same gets the wave, and Logan's sitting in the wrong spot or something like that. It's like I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling for him. Like I'd be like, you just know how he's feeling. Walk up the beach because they put on pretty big events.
Yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of people.
People come from all over the world, or before they did Japan and here, even as kids, they're everywhere. Anyway, but I've watched him stick at it, and really, there's been some wobbly times in there where he's, as he's growing up, he's partied a little bit and things, but he's always had this thing, and his screensaver is winning a world title, Gabriel Medina, like putting his hand in the air. And I'm really interested to see when that bounce, because he gets more hunger, but there's been times when it's actually created a lot of doubt in his mind as well, which we'll talk about doubt in a sec. Like doubt where he's like, he'd say, do you reckon I can do this, Dad? Like that sort of thing. And I'd be like, you can, but you got to want to, like if you don't feel like you have to. But I reckon all of this has been like a big slingshot, and at some point it's just going to go for him, because you can see it, like you can feel the energy, just like all the losses, like the amount of losses is all of them. Imagine, and there would be how many comps, Jack? Do you reckon there'd be a year? Like back then, like a few years ago, there'd have to be 50, 40 comps a year, something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot, all around Australia, everywhere. So anyway, and there's so much effort goes into it.
And most people give up.
At
a point.
Yeah.
Whether it's that or business.
Yeah.
Or
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was saying it. Like I've watched him not give up.
Yeah.
There's something inside of him's going, I'm going to work this out. And his coach said to me, it's so true, when he was about 10 years old, 12 years old, something like that, she said he won't work it out till he's about 19.
Yeah.
Because he's just a slow developer, not with his surfing, with his strategy. And she was right. As he's 18 now, he's like a lot more methodical. He's it's more about, whereas other kids would work it out. Like Lennox, my goodness.
I was polar opposite. I was like the best comp surfer ever, but like not as good as everybody else free surfing.
Yeah.
I used to just get a few waves straight away, so I didn't have that anxious feeling of, I know I haven't got a wave, on the board. And then never pick it. Once you get 3 or 4 on, never pick a wave that's less than the ones that you've already taken.
Yeah.
Like that was my rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
Like I go, is this going to be a better score than my last one? And then as I got halfway through the comp, I needed to have decent scores on the board. And then towards the end, I was only waiting for them shining waves.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. That's like a Lennox strategy as well. You could just see it. Like the difference in development was so funny. Anyway, why we were saying all that is it's that tenacity. Yeah. If you feel like you really want to achieve something,
I'm just going to get this at all costs.
You are.
Yeah.
And in a weird sort of way, I think it's the way the universe actually makes you become that. It's in the challenges that I reckon is the quest to rise. Like, are you really going to get up and do it tomorrow?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You come into real estate at whatever age it was, living with no car, in a caravan, not a super confident person at the time. I think you're more confident now the better that you've got.
Yeah.
Auctions would scare the living daylights out of people. Like, especially if you're not a confident person. How many years did it take you to like Because I reckon your first years would have been like foul after foul after foul.
The worst. I'll tell you a quick option story.
Yeah, yeah.
So I worked for LJ Hooker at Terrigal, and the owner there, who we know, he's like quite a bit of a, like heavy-handed type of guy, but he taught me a lot. Taught me heaps. And he we had in-room auctions. I said to him, I just don't like auctions. I don't want to list them. I don't like them. They always feel like it. Because back then you were trained to condition the owners a lot. Like you'd have to even make it up. Like they would make it up. Like say if you listed it at back then it would say 500,000. And during the whole campaign, you're just hammering them saying, oh, your house is only worth 300 or 350 or even less than what people were saying. That's how they were training us. And it just didn't sit right with me. I'd be like, I don't like this one bit. Yeah. I'm trying to sit in front of owners pretending that buyers were saying 300 when they really weren't. Like
it's just fake.
Yeah, they were trying to bang them down so much that when you get to auction, you can sort of jam the deal together, even though there's like only maybe one buyer or two buyers or whatever. So by the time the owners get to auction, they're just that exhausted and that negative about their house. They just want it sold. That was the training model. And it's so bad. And I think a lot of agents have operated like that over the years. And I was just like, nah, I'm not listing them because it just does not feel right. I feel like I'm just lying to people and manufacturing this thing, manipulating them. Anyway, so he said, well, you got to list auctions or you're out of here. I needed a job. I think I had Jackson. I had Jackson then and all this sort of stuff. So I had to work. But first auction in rooms, like I was that scared. Like
how old were you at this point? Do you think?
I don't know, like 25 or something, 24.
And like that's a couple of years in real estate by this point.
Yeah, 2 years in real estate. Right. And he and I had 4 properties for auction that night. And in the paper back then, I had like a double page, but with half pages. And I was like, oh, I'm killing it. Yeah. And then the first, when they open it up and then the owner there comes up to me and like barks at me, goes, get out there and talk to people like this. And I was like standing at the back of the room just going, what the hell am
the
I?
owner of the company,
yeah. Like, get out there and talk to people. Work the floor. And I'm like, and they're all talking to people. I'm thinking, what are they saying to them? Like, they're just walking up to all these people like going, no, no, no. So anyway, I was like, oh, I don't know. My mouth was that dry. I could not speak. Like I was that nervous. And naturally I get really nervous if I have to like speak to people, like especially back then. Yeah. And so I walked up to this guy at the front sitting down. His name was Alan, I still remember him, Alan Martin. And he was a developer. And I said, oh, are you here to bid? He goes, F off. Like, and he yells at me, he goes, F off, like this. And I was like, oh, and I ran back to the back of the room and just stood there, dry mouth. And there was like an office, because we did them in the offices. Yeah. And there was all people, it was chock-a-block full. Yeah. I just walked into the office at the back and just stood there the whole night. I didn't come out. Like, I was like, so bad.
What if they didn't sell?
They didn't.
So what did you say?
None of them sold.
What did you say to your owner?
I was too embarrassed. I just couldn't say anything. I was just too embarrassed. I was too scared. It was just the worst experience.
Isn't it amazing? Because now watching you back when the market wasn't as good as it was now, like the one at Warren Avenue still baffles me. Yeah. Like remember it was like the owner was at 2-1, 2-3 or something, and the bidding was, and you said, come inside, you sit there. And I remember I was only just started with you and I was standing outside for hours. You come down with both the contracts, the owners and the buyers are cuddling, they're popping champagne, walk away, and I go, how did you do that? Yeah. And you go, I don't know. I just did it. Yeah. But imagine that moment at 25. Like that was probably the best real estate moment I've ever seen. And you said, I find it hard that real estate trainers teach them moments because how do you?
Yeah, because I genuinely care about the price and the outcome now.
And what did we say the other day? It's probably worth. You said to her, I remember you said, I've been selling in this area for 20 years or 25 years. Trust me on this. you'll be thanking me in 3 years' time. She's made $3 million.
The property's doubled plus more. Yeah, she didn't even want to buy it. She didn't come to buy it, that lady.
Yeah.
She's when she bought it, she went into a panic attack.
Yeah.
And for like weeks, I was going over to make sure. I was just going to her house to make sure she was all right, and because she was that anxious, she's like, "Oh, I've made the wrong decision." Oh, and like so, like I was just waking up, going, "I hope she's all right today." I'll just go over and see her. Like, are you right? Blah blah.
She's made $1 million plus a year for 3 years.
Yeah, she has.
You're right.
Yeah. Quick story with that other auction thing, and this is talking about all the bumps. Because I never gave up with the auction thing. I understood that the model was like good if I could work it out well. But one time in-room auctions, same thing, LJ Hooker, and a young couple. I had a little cottage listed in Terrigal, 350,000 or something, and I think the reserve was 350 or 370, something like that, and it got to 320, the bidding, but then like 30 grand to a young couple was a lot, but they couldn't sell it under 350. They just couldn't physically sell it. They couldn't afford to sell it. I think their loan and whatever else might have even been 300 or whatever it got to. And this is like maybe a few months after my first auction experience. And the owner came down from the thing because he was the auctioneer as well. And he said to them, it was just one bid basically. And he said to them, put it on the market. I think you should put on the market and we'll get the other bidders to bid and we'll make sure that like give it the best chance of selling or something like that. And I'm like listening to it. Like he came and just, because I was standing next to them because I felt so bad nothing was happening on their house. They really needed to sell it as well. And he goes, put on the market, we'll get the other people bidding. And I'm like going, there's no other bidders here. Like I'm thinking to myself, there's no bidders. What is he talking about? Like there was no bidders. It was just one person put a bid in. And they're like, oh, you know, when young people, they just got no idea with what's happening. They're just listening to the agent. And he was like, rah, 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 like barking at them, like literally. And they just got so overwhelmed, they just agreed, put on the market. It might have been 300,000. Like it was like 50 grand away. But if you think about it back then, the whole house was worth 300. So like, or 350. So it's like a lot of money. That was like 20 something years ago. So they go, oh, okay. And he goes up, he goes, any other bids? Going once more, so sold like this. I died right that moment. I was like standing there just going, what the hell am I going to say to these people? Like he's just sold their house. They could not sell this house at that price. I was like just happy for it to pass in. I'll just keep trying to sell it. They started crying. And I'm like standing there just going, what did I just see? Like literally. But funny enough, the pain, I can still feel it like that night. I was just like beside myself with upsetness. But all of these things taught me how to do it really well. Really well. Like all of these little things along the way, because we don't do any of that at our auctions.
Never.
We actually just, it's all set up perfectly. Sure, there's times when we need to negotiate, but I reckon 90% of our auctions, because of all this terrible stuff I learned along the way, our owners are happy. They're not stressed. They're like, we handle it so differently. We don't even walk around and talk to people much. We might do it if we can see someone stuck, but not to make a show. So it looks like we're creating this whole, I don't know, this agent shark energy, whatever it is. I don't know what that is, but it's, you know, we have a lot of like good energy at our auctions, like just with people.
A perfect example of that, I won't mention the address, but it got to a point where I thought, well, that's maybe the price. Like, and I was managing the process and things, and the owners would have just listened and taken the deal at the time. And you said, nah, I don't care if it's in 2 weeks or 2 months, I'm going to get the price. I can just feel it in my bones. And you got it in the end. We got it. But
you walked out of that house. You walked out of that auction and you said to me, I would have taken that. I would have made the owners take that.
I did. Yeah, I did. And
that was 2.2. I got to, which was high for that area.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked, and we could have done the deal quite easy, and like, yeah, everybody would have been not pumped but happy. But you were just like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you know what I gauge it on these days?
Yeah,
because there's another agent in our area that works for a competitive agency who got such a bad name years ago from jamming sales together, and owners were that unhappy because under it's in that moment when you're selling them, you can take advantage of it a little bit because they want it sold. They're over it. All these people are there. It's like this intensity. Some agents do take advantage of that a little bit and pump the owner so hard, then get it sold.
Yeah.
I always picture this from now on. I always picture ringing them after the auction, like ringing them either in the afternoon or the next day. And do I feel like good about ringing them? Because I've had other ones where I know I've just got it sold over the years and there's been more money out there. Like I've just known it. And I feel really uncomfortable calling them the next morning just to say, hey, how you going? Like, la, 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 are you all right? And I never want to do that ever again.
Yeah.
So whether it passes in or sells doesn't really matter to me. It's more about, do they feel like this is the right path? Like that was the right decision. So we sold that one you were talking about, and we sold it for 2.3, so which is $100,000 more
in a few weeks.
And maybe 3 to 4 weeks after. And those owners had bought another property, they needed to sell it, but I just knew in my heart that this is not the right position, regardless of my side. And this has got nothing to do with auction training. It's more about all the bumps that I had along the way. I reckon it's made me a fantastic auction agent, like fantastic. Because it's like the instincts that you've honed because of your challenges, you can't actually go and do a course for that. Same as with Logan. Logan, he can't see it, but he'll become one of the best if he decides to be and keeps on that path. Yeah, he'll become one of the best because of 10 years of absolute pain that he's been through. And even my career, like you talk about things like no car, no job, no this, living in a caravan and all that. The amount of pain I was going through as a person, Australia's Most Wanted and all this sort of stuff, the amount of absolute torturous pain inside with life, it's made me more successful. Like it's made me, when I talk about it, we sort of gloss over it. But at the time, it's like suicide or keep going. Like that's sort of where it is. Do I just get this over with and kill myself or keep going? And even like drugs, like addiction and stuff like that, like, sure, I was addicted to all of that sort of stuff, but you let yourself down. Like you're trying to get yourself on track, and then all of a sudden you go out and have a bender, years ago, and wake up the next day or 2 days later and you just want to go jump off a cliff. But you're like, oh, what do I want to become? I keep like going to that place of what I want to become, and I keep walking the path of, I know it in my heart, I will be really successful. I know it. So those bumps are like, to me, I'm like, you try to avoid those self-inflicted ones for sure. Yeah. Now it's easy for me, but the amount of muscle I've got, of strength around it, like I just don't drink, don't do anything. Like I have no interest in it because I know the cost of it. I've been there, but it's taken me, it's like Logan's comps, it's taken me 45,000 times for me to go, you know what, if I do that, it's going to lead there. That's not the path that I'm on or want to go on.
Yeah, I agree. And I've watched things like that shape your life that you have now. Yeah. Like things that you had as a kid, you've gone, I'm never having that again. But it's a bit the same with relationships too. Like one of my friends had probably not the best relationship. There was lots of things that he didn't like. But then the next one was really good because he set it up perfect. He's like, well, I don't want to do any of the things that I did in the last one because I know that I didn't like it. But if he didn't have that, he wouldn't know what he wanted there.
That's totally right. And that's how you got to start seeing these challenges. We go back to this actual title of this, and it's like, where is the upside in the down? But it actually helps you know what you want. Yeah. Like really, the crux of it is when you're in the depths of despair or hurt or heartbreak, you are sending out messages to the universe and creating a picture of what you actually want now. Like it's, what do you want? How do you want your life to look? But without the opposite of that, you actually don't know. It's like growing up in a wealthy family. If you're a billionaire family and you actually don't know what it's like to go and have to go and find food or just even live or have nothing. A lot of those people don't have the same amount of hunger.
That just made me think of one thing for business. When COVID happened in the very beginning and everybody was unsure, I remember the first thing you said, mate, I've been through the GFC. That was the worst time of my life with a business that was nowhere near as big as this, and I was pretty much the only salesperson we could lean on. You went, we'll be right.
Yeah.
But if you didn't go through the GFC, like I'm going, I've never been through a tricky marketplace, but you said to me, as soon as you get out of the other side, you'll have the scars, and that'll change you as a person. It's so true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So true.
Well, it does. And you can't buy it. You can't train it. You can't buy it. Like I say it all the time, you can't train hunger. Hunger comes through those times when you're like, can I keep going? Can I actually keep going? Like, this is not working for me. But on that note, if it's not working for you, are you supposed to be doing it? Like, are you meant to be doing it? Or is it pushing you in another direction that you're sort of like, you can't see? Like, you might be an amazing firefighter, but you might be working as a journalist. And and this road is very bumpy, and it's not really, well, it's a good question. How do you actually know to keep going? Because you don't want to keep going for 20 years and realize that, I could have made a decision earlier. So how do you know?
I just think you can feel it inside.
You can. That's a very good answer, Jordan.
Yeah.
You can. It's just that thing that's inside of you that's like, I don't know, it's not working, sure, and I'm having a really difficult time, but I know it's almost like already done. You can feel the already done feeling. That's how I gauge it. It's like, I know my success is already done. I can see it. I'm constantly molding it along the way, but I feel like the path is connected to it, to all that, and whether that's, more real estate success, or it's going to be a bit of speaking and real estate, or you know what I mean? Like I get a lot out of your success. I watch your success a lot. I get very enthused by it. Like the listings that you're getting and the growth that you're having and the investments that you're making. Like, so I feel like that the path feels right for me.
Yeah.
Like it sort of feels like there's momentum around my inner self, not just like everything's got to work out for me to be happy.
Yeah.
Like I'm just happy anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's like, things are gradually getting better. Things are gradually moving that way. So I suppose today, we'll wrap it up here, but I suppose today is about, things aren't, I just think there's huge benefit in things not going right. Like there is. You can't get the same benefit. It's like you just can't. And, when you get to that point where you go, I'll never do that again. I know we've said it with drinking a million times over the years, but maybe if you do it enough, you will get to a point where you'll just never drink again. Like you'll never drink again, or if you get really fat because you just ate too much and I mean obese fat, you might get to a point where you're like, I'm never going to, and it's just again. That moment where you like something deep inside happens where you're like, enough's enough now. So today I'm changing the whole direction of my life and my outcome because I choose to. Yeah. And I think you can't actually read a book to get the same thing. Life is the only way that you're going to get that experience, and those, whether they're poor choices or good choices, I don't know, but whether they're poor choices that are going to take you there, it's something about a position in life where you say, today is the day that I'm going to turn my whole life around and become the person that I'm feeling I'm going to be inside. And I think when you get to that point, your success path will open up and you'll never look back again, but you've got to get there.